Hello, folks. Welcome to Holding On with Holder. On this show, I interview interesting people to discuss interesting topics. My name is Steve Holder, and I am your host. My guest today is Billy Ukwu Jr., who is the founder of End the Two Party System. He loves to discuss politics, and thank you, Brother Billy, for being on.
Thank you. I'm glad to be on.
How's the weather up your way?
Actually, it just snowed. Just snowed last night.
And
Yeah.
you're in Richmond, Virginia, correct?
No, I'm actually in Reston, Virginia. It's Northern Virginia, close to like Springfield area.
Okay, okay. I feel sorry for the folks out west, especially in Texas. No power and no running water
Yeah.
for days. That's
Oh
horrible.
man, that's a big mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big mess over there.
Well, for those who have never heard of you, Billy, tell us a little bit of your background. Who are you, brother?
Well, I'm Billy Ukwu, founder of End the Two Party System, a political movement working to establish itself as a 501c4 nonprofit organization so that we can work to educate the country about third parties, the barriers against them, and then also lobby for legislation like ranked choice voting and campaign finance reform. We also have a Facebook group, which is growing rapidly too as well.
Okay, okay. And you enjoy talking about politics?
Oh yeah, I've enjoyed talking about politics my entire life. Ever since I was a kid, me and my dad always watched a lot of news together. So, whenever something would come across the headlines, we talk about it pretty depthly.
Yeah. So you've pretty much always been into politics then, one way or another.
Yeah, one way or another, pretty
Yeah.
much.
So why do you think we need to end the two-party system?
Well, like I said, I've always been interested in politics, my entire life. But, over the past 10 years, I kind of realized that, pretty much both of these parties, even though they may be different in some legislation, in some ideas, they still both perpetuate the increased military industrial complex. They both hold down competition. They both don't want to make changes, I guess, instrumental changes to the system.
Yeah.
So in the end, it's just essentially you voting for two parties that have maybe slightly different social issues, but in the bigger picture of things, they're still doing similar things. They're still giving money to campaign donors and building, corporate interests.
Yeah. Still all about the big money and the big corporations and the powerful people. They get,
Exactly.
they make the rules, they get all the money, and that's just the way it is. Um,
Yeah, and a lot of times they'll even fund both parties. You can
yeah,
have some organizations that'll give money to a Democratic candidate and a Republican candidate. That goes to show you that they both work for the same interests.
yeah, yeah. I guess if you've got billions of dollars, you can do that.
Oh yeah, you can do
Yeah.
whatever you want. And
So who did you vote for president?
so I actually voted for Howie Hawkins of the Green Party. I actually voted for him because I've been a longtime Bernie Sanders fan. The Green Party stands for a lot of the stuff that Bernie Sanders was fighting for all this whole time. So anybody who really liked Bernie Sanders would really love the Green Party.
Well, I have to take a further look at that because I voted for Bernie two times. I feel, would have been
Mm,
the man for the job.
yeah, I feel you. I voted for him in the prime, or I wanted him to win in the primary, but it didn't go well twice. So
Yeah. So do you think Joe Biden is doing a good job so far?
I think it's a little bit too early to tell, but from what I've seen so far, he's not doing terribly. The only issue that I've had so far is with the student loan debt forgiveness. He was talking about forgiving about 10,000. Really, I'm an advocate for forgiving all the loans because the prices are already highly inflated. The interest rates are already way too high. So it's like getting charged $1,000 for something that's $200, and then saying, okay, we'll give you a coupon for 10% off, and then you're happy.
Yeah.
No, that's bad.
Yeah. And it's in the best interest of the country for people to get a good education. I mean, it just makes
Oh,
sense.
absolutely.
It just
Yeah,
makes,
even education is tied to a lot of things. It's tied to crime. It's tied to poverty. It's tied,
yeah,
it's very important.
yeah. I think maybe the big time politicians and the powerful people don't want people to be able to think for themselves. They don't want us to be educated and informed. That is what
Oh,
the
there's no doubt about
politicians.
that. Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. This is kind of off topic, but even if you look at our school system, there's a lot of stuff that wasn't taught to us, so it just goes to show you that there's a little bit of hiding going on,
Oh yeah,
hiding of information.
a lot
Yeah,
of it, a lot of it.
a lot.
So what did you think about the second Trump impeachment and the way it turned out?
Well, to be honest with you, I wasn't really that surprised, because it doesn't seem like anybody's ever held accountable, whenever something like this happens. But I mean, I guess in the long term, it was good that they tried, maybe they could prevent him from running again, or, maybe even get him pressed on any criminal charges. Because obviously what was done during his presidency was terrible, especially the incitement and with the Capitol riot, whatever you want to call it. Terrible. I've never seen something. I've never even read something like
Yeah.
that. Like, it's insane.
It reminds me of the clips we've seen over the years of these third world countries, they
Yeah.
show things like that on the news to support the belief that they are below the United States. We are better than them because we don't do this. Now here we are.
Mm, yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah, right. Sad. Very sad.
So what do you think about the present state of the world, Billy?
Um, to be honest with you, the world's a bit chaotic right now. But in terms of Western countries, I think that there's a storm coming, like a revolutionary storm. I can see here in the United States, people are just fed up with the way that things have been going for decades. So I think in the future, there's going to be, I wouldn't say problems, but there's just going to be more activism, more revolutionary type stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely brewing. Something big is going to happen. No doubt about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you see things getting better anytime soon?
I guess it really depends in what category we're speaking about. Yes and no. Like I said, I think that people will start to stand up, which will start to, create changes, which is great. So that'll help a little bit. But financially and yeah, especially financially, I don't think it's going to get much better, at least soon. I think it's going to take some time. Even with the changes, it's going to take It's going to take small changes here and there. So maybe over 10, 15 years, we'll see some major changes,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Even if we do get this virus under control, it's still going to be a long, long time for the economy to be back to where it was. So many
For
people are
sure.
out of
And
work, so many people starving. It's ridiculous.
yeah, and even before the epidemic, people were already struggling. So,
Yeah.
it's going to take time. And on top of that, I think even when the virus ends, I think people are still going to be iffy about a lot of stuff. Because I know me, I'm going to always sanitize my hands from this point on, anything I touch. I think the whole world's just going to have a different view on hygiene, especially.
Yeah. And we need to have more conversations like this where people talk about these things openly and freely instead of just believing everything you hear on the news.
Absolutely. And to add to that, I think we should get more into the culture of holding politicians responsible, even if they're within your own party. So like I'm green. If a green was ever voted into power, I would still criticize him because we're all human beings, So I think we just need to get into that culture too.
Yeah, they definitely all need to be held accountable. And that's just not happening now.
No.
I think also the politicians that done their part in spreading the big lie that the election was not fair, that Trump really won, they need to be held accountable too because they had their role in inciting the riot at the Capitol.
Yeah, essentially it's subversive.
Yeah,
That's subversive activity right there.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I don't know. That's why I said I'm not surprised that Trump wasn't held liable, because in
Me
this
neither.
country we've had a long history of people not being held liable, especially in high power,
Yeah.
for when they do things. Look at even Nixon. Nobody gets in trouble.
Yeah.
So
Well, Trump done a lot worse than Nixon, and that's pretty bad.
oh yeah,
That's bad.
yeah, that's pretty damn bad.
So can we talk about racism a little bit, Billy?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think the racism is getting any better in our country?
To be honest with you, I think from when I was a kid, I think race relations has gotten better. I think that it should be at a better place by this. I think that things could have been done differently, but I think a lot of it is just. I think it's we're in like a phase where we're kind of like kind of shedding off a lot of the old ways of doing things and our old ways of thinking. So I think it's getting better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We're just having a little bit of a, I don't know what to call it, a rough patch, I guess.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on white supremacy and white privilege?
Well, white supremacy has been a problem in the United States for a long time, an unchecked problem in the United States for a long time. Federal authorities, state authorities, they always look over them. So I'm glad actually that it's being addressed now, even though sadly it had to come out this way. I'm glad that there's a lot of attention towards it. And in terms of white privilege, there is a thing. White privilege is a thing. Sometimes I think people may make it seem bigger than it is.
Yeah.
But in the end, I think it has a lot to do with the way that other races are viewed, which can affect opportunity. It can affect the way that people are treated, which can be an advantage or disadvantage.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a real thing, and I hate it with a passion. That's why I like to talk about it. And I especially like to give people in the Black community an audience, a platform to say, what you feel about this and how it really is, so we can have some real discussions. And it really disgusts me when I hear white folks saying that there's no such thing as systemic racism or white privilege. I think, man, what? How can you say that? I mean, you just read
Yeah, I don't
American
know.
history. This country was started by and for rich white men, and it's mostly rich white men that run it now. And I don't see that getting any better, unfortunately.
No, it's gonna take a long. Well, it's gonna take some time. Yeah, it's gonna take some time for sure. Yeah, it's just gonna take some time. I had something else to say, I forgot.
I thought when we had a Black president for 8 years, that would make a difference. But it seems like it just infuriated the racists and the white supremacists. And I just feel like when Trump came along, it was like, okay, we can come out of the closet and we can do our thing and the world is ours, And that's.
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, when Obama became president, I was actually a kid, but I actually saw it coming. I knew that it would inflate problems, because now essentially you've had, because the racists have always been there. The Trumpers, they've always been there. It's just that when Obama came out, they were just like, oh, I don't know. It's just something that's always been there, so it's not going to change,
Yeah.
I was going to say in terms of the race. You said that you heard white folks say that there's no systematic racism. I've also heard Black people say that as well. I think it's also an education issue too as well. We need to talk about this deeper in schools. We also need to have more community organizations, in different areas, because the areas are different. An area that is majority white won't have the same understanding of the issues as an area that's mixed. So I think that at least things like that.
Yeah. And there's still a lot of segregation in certain parts of the country, especially in rural areas. At least here in East Tennessee, most of the rural areas is all white. There's not very many Black students in the rural areas. In the city schools, yes, but not in the county schools.
Yeah, it's that kind of the same here. Well, not here. I'm from Maryland, but in Maryland, it's kind of like that too, a little bit, like Eastern Shore area.
So why do you think it's important for us to acknowledge and commemorate Black History Month?
Well, of course, for one, it's important for Blacks to always have pride within themselves because, you know, historically we've always been a lesser than race, I guess you could say. And then on the other hand, it's also good for other races to have a better understanding about the challenges against Black people, why Black people are in the situations that they are today, why they're behind. And it just brings a better understanding of the situation. You know,
Yeah.
once you can look backwards and see, oh, this is how they got here. This is why they're here, you know.
Yeah. Is there one Black person or more than one that you think people need to know about that really we don't know anything about?
African leaders. Yeah, there's a plethora of African leaders. I can't even name them all, but one I can name: Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso. Um, yeah, Thomas Sankara is one of my favorite African leaders. So I feel like I said, African Americans and Americans in general should learn about world history, but in terms of Black history, they should add a lot more African history because there's a bunch that nobody's told about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So where do you see yourself 5 years from now, especially with in the two-party system organization?
Yeah, 5 years from now, I would hope that we would have we would have state and local branches established in the two-party system, and we would have a bunch of volunteers everywhere. Hopefully 5 years from now, I'm planning to run for a political office soon. So hopefully I would be in a political position so that I could actually make changes separately than the organization. You know, but I'm just hoping that the organization and the two-party system will be a national brand that is known by everybody.
Yeah. That would be good. And I wish you well on your political aspirations.
Thank you.
What else would you want people to know about you or your organization before we wrap it up?
Well, just that we're never going to stop fighting. We're always listening to people's suggestions. So if anybody has anything else they would like us to fight for, you know, we're grassroots, so we're for the people. And you can check out our website, www.endthetwopartysystem.org. You can check out our group on Facebook, End the Two-Party System, and our page, the ETTPS Movement. We'll be starting a YouTube channel soon as well. So just stay tuned for news.
Very good, very good. Well, I do appreciate what you're doing with ending the two-party system. We definitely need to do that. As you know, I ran for U.S. Congress last year and as an independent, and the Republicans and Democrats didn't want to even acknowledge me until I forced them to.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course not.
Yeah. So thank you,
And then
Billy.
I'm sure the money disparity.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much for being my guest today, and maybe we'll do it again sometimes. I enjoy talking to you, and I wish you all the best. So thanks again, and you have yourself a great day.
You too. Thank you.
All right. And viewers, if you're watching, please share this video, like, and subscribe. We need it.